With the NBA season being officially over, many teams around the league will feel the need to shake up their roster in order to compete or build up assets for the future. In today's video, we will be discussing some hypothetical trades that will certainly shake up the league. The first trade that we have will see the Timberwolves receiving DeJounte Murray, the Hawks receiving Karl Anthony Towns, and a 2026 first-round pick from Philadelphia, and the 76ers receiving DeAndre Hunter. This admittedly is a pretty big trade, but it addresses some of these teams' biggest issues. First up, we see the Timberwolves trading for a young star point guard to pair next to Ant in the backcourt. While it does suck to trade Cat away because he's the longest tenured Timberwolf and he was supposed to be that franchise guy for you, in 2024 it just doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. Another big reason for doing this trade is because Minnesota is currently in the second apron of salary cap, which essentially limits them a lot when it comes to roster construction, and they would save about $24 million in this deal. Looking at this move from a basketball standpoint, swapping Towns for DeJounte is a better fit for the team, giving an immediate upgrade at the point guard position for Minnesota, even though Mike Conley has been great for them, and eliminates the sort of logjam in the front court, creating more opportunities for Naz Reid and gives Jaden McDaniels and Kyle Anderson more time at the 4 spot. This trade also creates one of the best backcourts in all of basketball, and hopefully a change of scenery gets Murray back to his all-defensive ways on that side of the ball to go along with his improved offensive game. And hopefully for Minnesota, this is the trade that finally helps them break through and win an NBA championship after they got to the conference finals for the first time in about 20 years. In the Hawks' case, they add an all-star big in Cat, who should be a way better fit next to Trae Young than DeJounte was. Towns has never played with a passer and playmaker near Trae Young's caliber, so this could potentially unlock Cat's offensive game even more because he won't have to create for himself as much. A concern for Atlanta would be the lack of defense between Trae and Cat, so they would have to retool the roster a bit to add adequate defenders around them, which I believe they can do because they have a lot of good players on expendable contracts to go along with some good draft capital in the first overall pick this year and the pick that they would acquire in this hypothetical trade. And Philly in this move acquires DeAndre Hunter, who's a young, good 3-and-D player who's coming off of a career year averaging about 16 points on about 39% from 3 on a little over 5 attempts per game. After being the 4th overall pick in the 2019 NBA draft, Hunter became a forgotten player due to injury and the Hawks being mediocre, and he fits the mold perfectly as a complementary piece next to Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey for Philly, and this still allows Philly to have plenty of cap space to sign other key free agents this offseason, with them having about $65 million in cap space. Another Eastern Conference team that could really use kind of a retool would be the Miami Heat, which brings us to our next trade, where the Indiana Pacers receive Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat receive Aaron Nesmith, Jarris Walker, Benedict Mathurin, and 2 future first-round picks. For Miami, they hit a bit of a reset button, and it does hurt to trade one of the best players in franchise history who essentially carried you to 2 finals appearances. But there's been some recent public back and forth between Butler and Heat owner Pat Riley, and there's been rumors of the Heat moving on from Jimmy since he's about to be 35 years old and he wants a sizable contract extension that they might not be willing to pay him. So basically, this trade allows the Heat to gain some fresh young talent and some future draft capital, and to free up some of their cap space. Aaron Nesmith is one of the best 3-and-D guys in the NBA and is the type of player that every single team in the association will want. Then there's Benedict Mathurin, who has shown a lot of potential in this league as a lethal scorer and will probably have a better chance to maximize his potential as a scorer as part of that famous Heat culture, rather than being the 4th or 5th option in Indiana. And they would also acquire Jarris Walker, who was a top 10 pick in last year's draft and didn't get a whole lot of playing time in his rookie campaign. But he has a lot of upside as a versatile forward, so this move could give the Heat some more building blocks for the future to go along with Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, Jaime Jaquez, among others. And as for Indiana in this move, they acquire one of the best players in the NBA. And while it may be an aging Jimmy Butler, if I'm Indiana, we're jumping on the opportunity to go get a superstar. Despite Butler's age, he is someone who is one of the best closers and defenders in the entire league. And he also provides incredible leadership and toughness, and most importantly, playoff experience. In this deal, we see them give up a couple of young players and future draft picks with the hopes of Jimmy Butler ascending them into that real championship contender status. The new lineup will look something like this: Tyrese Haliburton, Andrew Nembhard, Jimmy Butler, Pascal Siakam, Miles Turner, which at least on paper looks to have a great balance of playmaking, defense, and shot creation. And if they were able to retain some of their bench pieces such as TJ McConnell, Obi Toppin, and Ben Shepherd, this team would have a much better chance of challenging the mighty Boston Celtics next year. And for the final trade of this video, we have to head out west to Sacramento, where we see the Sacramento Kings receiving Jonathan Isaac, Mikal Bridges, and Day'Ron Sharpe, the Orlando Magic receiving Kevin Huerter and 2 future seconds, and the Brooklyn Nets receiving Harrison Barnes, Davion Mitchell, and 2 future firsts. In this trade, we see the Sacramento Kings seriously upgrade their starting 5, which will most likely look something like this: De'Aaron Fox, Mikal Bridges, Keegan Murray, Jonathan Isaac, and Domantas Sabonis. We see the Kings starting lineup improve significantly, adding a bit more offensive firepower, but more importantly, adding 2 all-defensive caliber players. And in the case that you haven't been watching much Sacramento basketball over the past couple years, their biggest problem has definitely been their defense. Both Mikal and Jonathan Isaac are both long and versatile defenders who would definitely help out Sacramento's perimeter defense, but more importantly, Jonathan Isaac's interior defense and shot blocking ability will make up for Domantas Sabonis' lack of defensive interior presence. And the Kings would also get Day'Ron Sharpe, who's a young center who has pretty good potential. He played fairly well in his limited role in Brooklyn, and that's much better than rolling out an aging JaVale McGee. And after re-signing one of the best 6 men in all of basketball in Malik Monk, this Kings team suddenly looks a lot more potent, looking like they could give anyone in the NBA a run for their money. The reason for Orlando making this move is because they kind of have a logjam at the forward position, with Paolo and Franz needing a lot of minutes, and that they were also one of the worst shooting teams in all basketball, so they desperately need floor spacing. So getting Kevin Huerter would probably help that. And for the Nets, they get the Harrison Barnes contract, they get a young point guard who has a high defensive ceiling, and they get 2 future first-round picks, which is some really good future draft capital for them, especially because they're not going to be good anytime soon after the historical fall of the Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and James Harden supposed super team. These are just a couple of trade ideas, and I'm sure this offseason is just going to be another one of those crazy events that everyone's going to be tuning into. Let me know down in the comment section any potential moves that you guys think can happen.